Hey, who says sandcastles have to be boring? Well, get ready to be blown away by these incredibly creative sandcastle designs. From whimsical creations to impressive fortresses, these sandcastles showcase the amazing creativity and skill of their makers. Whether you're looking for inspiration for your next beach trip or just want to marvel at some amazing sand art, join me for today's video. We're going to count down 15 of the most creative sandcastle designs ever seen. Number 15. Marcio Matolius. As time moves forward, it seems that for many people owning a home is becoming more and more of a pipe dream. People are earning less money, the prices of an average starter home are through the roof, and interest rates are climbing higher than we could ever imagine. Millions and millions of people everywhere are simply doomed to pay rent for the rest of their lives. But do you know who doesn't pay rent? The king. Brazil may not have a king, but don't tell that to Marcio Matolius. He's the self-proclaimed king of the sands who's been living rent-free as the king of his own castle in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Rio de Janeiro. Matolius lives in his own personal sandcastle that he's built over the years and even sports a plastic crown, letting onlookers know exactly who's in charge. His castle requires constant maintenance, and to keep the walls and turrets of his sandy abode standing, he needs to regularly water the sides of his castle to prevent the fine Brazilian grains from crumbling in the city's year-round tropical climate. Living here requires a great deal of patience because a single tropical storm can destroy the entire thing in a matter of minutes, forcing him to rebuild the structure from scratch. The castle sports a small 32-square-foot basement of sorts, supported by driftwood walls and beams. Inside the small room there lies endless towers of books showcasing his love for the written word. In fact, he first became interested in this creative building when a friend of his reportedly gave him a book on Spanish architect Antonio Gowdy. The king of the sandcastles has been doing this for over 20 years and has become well adapted to swiftly and efficiently reconstructing his sandcastle, and his works even caught the attention of a local shopping mall that sometimes hires him to build decorative sand pieces for their displays. That's not all Matolius does to earn a living, though. His love of books has led him to collect and sell secondhand copies over the years, which has given him a modest income to buy enough food to keep his belly full. Over time, the self-proclaimed monarch has become a local celebrity of sorts, with tourists lining up to take his pictures with him and sand pieces. He does let adults and children alike sit on his throne, a makeshift chair, and happily poses for them. Donations serve as an additional source of income for the modest monarch. Hey, it's good to be the king. Number 14. Blockhouse Sandcastle. In 2021, the small seaside town of Blockhouse in Denmark became the home to the world's tallest sandcastle. This castle stands at 69.5 feet tall and weighs nearly 5,000 tons. According to Guinness World Records, the castle is about 10 feet taller than the previous record-holding castle built in Germany in 2019, which called for 4,860 tons of sand. The intricately decorated structure is a vision and resembles a pyramid. But who could ever build such a unique and creative structure? Well, it was built by a team of sculptors led by Wilfred Steiger from Holland. Steiger had his work cut out for him before even breaking ground, though. He knew that he needed plenty of sandy little helping hands to complete the project, so he tracked down 30 of the world's best sand sculptors to assist him throughout his castle-building journey. This record-breaking sandcastle is shaped like a triangle, so it doesn't collapse under its own weight. I mean, that's pretty clever. Another out-of-the-box method used to keep the structure strong and sound is the sand contains 10% clay so that it glues better. Is that cheating? Well, perhaps a little bit, but we'll let it slide. The artist also applied an extra layer of glue on the structure so it lasts through the winter. It's not the sort of thing your average beachgoer's just gonna come up with. The sandcastle has been sculpted with various figures, even including local elements such as beaches, lighthouses, and even windsurfing has been incorporated into it. One of the sculptors said that the castle was built as a reminder of how the coronavirus shaped the world years prior, with the crown serving as the castle's corona on top. It's a gorgeous and unique creation that also serves as an interesting reminder of recent history. Let's hope it never comes down. Number 13. The Cat Castle. Cat makes some of the most used construction equipment around. When it comes to picking up big things and putting them back down again, they seem to have cornered the market. But the Cat team also knows how to have a little fun with their Cat trials. The Cat trials involve accomplishing tasks that are limited by only imagination. In the past, Cat construction machines have played a giant game of Jenga, lit up a Chinese mountainside, played tug-of-war, and even a game of giant Pac-Man. And in 2014, the company took to the sands to build a sandcastle far beyond our wildest, sandiest dreams. Construction of the castle, which was made exclusively of quarry sand and water, began on October 28th in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Over the course of 15 days, trucks delivered a stunning 49 loads of sand to the site, where 7 machine operators and 7 sculptors carefully shifted and shaped it into a towering work of art. In all, they had moved about 960 cubic yards of fine sand into the castle we see before us. This one took a lot of careful planning ahead of time before pulling out the big guns. CAT busted out their C-54B vibratory soil compactor, CAT 924K wheel loader, D6N crawler, 320D and 336D hydraulic excavators, and a 3025C mini excavator to lay it all down. It all started with a wooden foundation, and from there, the cats laid on the sand in droves. Once that was done, the humans came in with hand tools and levels to get everything just right, down to the most minute of details, too. The finished product is pretty extraordinary, and when the final touch was added, the flag at the top of the skyscraper, this cat-built sandcastle broke the world record for the largest sandcastle in 2014, coming in at over 42 feet tall. That beat the previous record of 38 feet. Number 12. Randy Hoffman. For some, building a sandcastle is just a fun thing to do on a hot summer day. They can go at it alone or with friends. It really doesn't matter. For others, it's a form of artistic expression as they carefully craft their vision into the sand. Randy Hoffman falls into the latter category, and for him, that larger vision comes from a much higher power. He's getting his inspiration from the big guy upstairs. He's been creating amazing sand sculptures along the boardwalk in Ocean City, Maryland since 1981. The biblical sculptures Hoffman creates is part of a project that represents the worship and ministry outreach group he works with. Sunspot, that's S-O-N Spot. Each sculpture requires an entire day of work, so you can only imagine the amount of talent and dedication Hoffman has to do this for over 40 years. It truly is impressive, especially for those who have the opportunity to see the talented man in action as he starts a new sculpture. And it doesn't matter what you believe, there's no denying Hoffman's ability. Randy Hoffman has created all sorts of scenes during his day, from the giant face of Jesus in the sand to the crucifixion to the Last Supper. He seems to have boiled his biblical art down to more of a science. But despite the sheer size and scale of these sandy creations, Hoffman is still getting his hands dirty to make them come to life, literally. He's getting into every nook, cranny, and crevice with tiny tools to make sure that every minute detail is just right. And he still uses his hands to help shape the larger portions. There are no excavators or construction teams to be found here. He keeps his biblical works of art far from the shoreline to make sure they stand for longer, but that doesn't stop him from spraying them down with his own homemade glue concoction. Come to the boardwalk in Ocean City at night, and you may even find that he's strung lights out through the grainy works of art. Number 11. John Gowdy. Say howdy to Mr. John Gowdy, one of the most celebrated sand sculptures in the world. He's amazing. Based out of New Jersey, no grain of sand is safe from the meticulous hands of John Gowdy as he travels the world in search of his next big sandcastle challenge, and even has a sandcastle paycheck because this thing has become a full-time job. A retired captain of the Atlantic City Fire Department, Gowdy has dedicated his golden years to the Golden Sands. This man is a two-time world champion by People's Choice in British Columbia, Canada, and five-time American champion in Fort Myers, Florida. In 2018, Gowdy and his wife created a sand sculpture for Pope Francis, depicting the San Jose de Flores parish, the pontiff's hometown church in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Not only does Gowdy compete in sand sculpting events, but he also takes on commissioned projects like weddings and wedding proposals, conventions, and even corporate logos, having made a sculpture for America's favorite beer, Budweiser. On occasion, he can have a team of up to 30 people at his side, but there's one sculpture in particular that he quite impressively made on his own. In 2008, as part of a promotion, John Gowdy built his most morbid castle yet, a painstaking depiction of the beheading of Anne Boleyn. Gowdy saw fit to depict the 16th century Tudor's final moments as she placed her head on the chopping block right before the big swing of the shogun's decapitator. It's said that Boleyn delivered some kind of final words regarding her king and went out with a smile on her face. But Gowdy must not have paid attention in history class, because he made sure to carve a harrowing look of sheer sandy terror into her face. And like so many of Gowdy's other amazing sandcastle designs, this version of Anne Boleyn isn't likely to last long. She's getting ready for the chop. Number 10. Zand Hotel. Have you ever seen a sandcastle and then tried to climb inside? Have you ever wanted to sleep in a sandcastle? Well, if you've got the cash and you find yourself in need of lodging in the Netherlands, then you're in luck. Zand Hotels, the first hotels constructed out of sand, opened their doors in 2015 in two Dutch towns, Os and Sneek, to commemorate sand sculpture festivals held there each year. The two pop-up hotels have fully furnished one-room suites hidden inside 26-foot-tall sculptures. One's modeled after the iconic bedrock homes from the Flintstones, and the other has a Chinese theme with dragons, the Great Wall of China, and the Terracotta Army as decorations. Believe it or not, these sand hotels have all the modern amenities too, like electricity, running water, glass windows, king-size beds, soft carpets, luxurious bathrooms, and of course, Wi-Fi. The only catch is by the time you see this, they're already gone. The Zand hotels weren't built to withstand the test of time and were temporary structures, more of a novelty than anything, an expensive novelty. The structures were built over the 4 weeks by event organizers Global Powwow, who were inspired by ice sculpture hotels located in Sweden and Finland. The basic structure is made of thin concrete walls that are covered on the inside and outside with reinforced sand. This will ensure the walls don't crumble and guests won't end up buried in the sand. The furnishings and bathroom fittings are all made of regular materials though, not sand, and you can sleep in a bed made of sand though. The suites were priced at $168 a night, which includes a personal tour of the festivals nearby. Each of the festivals at Osensnik features about 30 large sand sculptures made from 800,000 kilograms of soil. All the rooms sold out fast and the hotels closed once the festivals ended. The only thing the hotel didn't have? A sandbar. Number 9. Ed Jarrett's Sandy Castle. If there's one thing sand sculptor Ed Jarrett hates, it's world records. He hates them so much that he takes it upon himself not to break them, but to shatter them. The man and his high castles have made it into the Guinness Book of World Records multiple times, and in 2013, Jarrett brought his castle-building talents to Point Pleasant Beach on the Jersey Shore. Beginning in March, he set out to once again break his own sandcastle record and raise money for the relief efforts aiding Superstorm Sandy victims at the same time. He joined forces with an old college friend to raise awareness in support of New Jersey Hometown Heroes, a registered nonprofit organization based in Toms River. All proceeds and donations from Jarrett's Sandy Castle went to benefit the charity. One side of the Sandy Castle is dedicated as the Jersey side and depicts a number of iconic shore images: Asbury Park's Convention Hall, Seaside Heights, Starjet roller coaster, which toppled into the ocean during the hurricane, the Barnegat Lighthouse, and the Ortley Beachwater Tower. At the base of the castle is a mermaid with a tear rolling from her eye. Other motifs around the castle include a shark, a sea turtle, and serpents. On the side that faces the boardwalk, there are carvings of lions, gargoyles, demons, and dragons, and Rapunzel lets down her sandy hair to the waiting prince below. But Jarrett's Sandy Castle never did attain the great heights necessary to break his own world record, and ironically, it was the rebuilding effort itself that foiled his record-breaking attempt. A bulldozer that was clearing debris from the beach caused a vibration that shook the whole castle to its foundation. The shockwave opened up a 25-foot vertical fault line down the center of the solid sand edifice. It took 6 rebuilds to repair the damage, and the decision was made to leave the Sandy Castle at the height of 34 feet, roughly 4 feet shy of the height needed to break his own record. But they still continued to sculpt the castle and raise money through the $1 admission charged to see it, so far collecting about $40,000 for charity. Number 8. Sudarshan Patnaik. Another breaker of records, Sudarshan Patnaik is a renowned professional sand sculptor from India. In 1994, he founded the Sudarshan Sand Art Institute in Puri, where he teaches others the craft he's practiced since he was a child. According to his website, he more or less grew up on the beach and taught himself how to sculpt in sand, which he says was an ability gifted to him by the big man himself, God. Over the years, he's competed in many international sand sculpting competitions and has created sculptures to raise cancer awareness, AIDS awareness, celebrate world peace, and even created a replica of the Taj Mahal out of black sand to commemorate the building's 350th anniversary. Patnaik isn't a stranger to the record books. The man has set 23 sand sculpting records in the Limca Book of Records, an India-only version of the Guinness. In 2017, he did it again on Puri Beach with a castle dedicated to world peace. He made history when he and a team of 45 students built the world's largest sandcastle on Puri Beach in India's eastern state of Odisha. According to Debabrata Mohapatra at the Times of India, Patnaik's 48-foot-tall megastructure was tall enough to officially earn the Guinness Book of World Records title for the world's tallest sandcastle. It took him and his crew 9 days to complete their massive sculpture, which is a sprawling castle with the words "World Peace" written in front, and also includes a peace dove as well as a medallion showing the face of Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. The previous Guinness World Record, a 45.8-foot castle, was constructed on Virginia Key Beach by professional sand sculptor Ted Siebert and 19 helpers on October 2015, over the course of 2 weeks. Patnaik and his crew worked 12 hours a day for 4 days to complete the sculpture, and they were supervised the entire time by a crew of officials from Guinness. Number 7. German Sandcastle. This sandcastle isn't the kind of castle you make on the beach with a pail and shovel, but an ambitious project that in 2017 was declared the world's tallest sandcastle by Guinness World Records. Composed of 3,500 tons of compressed sand, it surpassed the previous record holder in Odisha, India by an impressive 6 feet. On September 1st, a jury from the Guinness World Records confirmed the castle's record-breaking size, making it the tallest in the world. Prior to this judgment, Puri, India retained the Sandcastle crown with their 48-foot sculpture created in February the same year. The Sandcastle is located in Duisburg, Germany, and was commissioned by a German tour company. It reached a height of 54.7 feet and remained on full display until September 29th. The design is quite intricate and depicts attractions from around the globe, including Greece's Parthenon and Thailand's Buddhist temples. It also has a water slide running from top to bottom. The project involved 19 sand artists from around the world. Heavy machinery, including an excavator and cranes, were used for the Sandcastle's construction too, along with wooden scaffolding. The actual patterns in the sand were created with hand tools. In all, it took a total of 25 days to complete, but it was no easy feat, and the German team suffered a setback during the construction when a large section of the castle collapsed. The endeavor was funded by a travel company that built an artificial beach in the landscape park on a former industrial site. Number 6. Summa Grew. Having a sign built for an aquarium sounds like a pretty normal idea. It can be made from wood, metal, or even something as cheap as plastic. But how about sand? Well, that's exactly what Summa Grew did for the Point Defiance Aquarium and Zoo. Summa Grew created this record-breaking 17-foot-tall sand sculpture on the aquarium's central lawn. This massive three-dimensional sand sculpture depicts a hammerhead shark swimming atop a sea of kelp, a green sea turtle moving placidly with the currents and trailed by schooling fish, a giant Pacific octopus with its bulbous round head taller than a child, a spotted eagle ray moving rapidly along on waves of sand, dozens of jellyfish, and more undersea creatures. And that's just the ocean side. Move around to the land area and see the Asian elephant surrounded by anoas, tigers, and even axolotls, a small amphibian. The facility even incorporated a map near the giant artwork to help visitors identify each species in the sand. Her epic work seems to defy gravity, but the explanation is far simpler and grounded in reality. The sandy seascape began with blocks of sand mixed with water. McGrew and her team pounded that wet sand down to make it almost like concrete. From there, they stacked boxes on top of each other so that by the time the team was done, it looked like a layered cake. But that was the easy part, because from there, the world-class sculptor had to get in there with fine tools and a steady hand, and some serious artistry and creativity. Sue and the gang start from the top down, and not even rainy weather can halt that work. In fact, it helps. When it's done, McGrew's team coats it with a thin layer of diluted glue to protect it from rain, marks, and presents us with a stunning finished product that we see here today. Way to go, Summa Grew. Number 5. Andy Hancock. Andy Hancock has become somewhat of a living legend in South Padre Island, Texas, and for good reason. The man began his career as a wood carver, but once he started playing around with sand, he became obsessed. He found that there was simply more that you can do with it, and unlike wood, you can get the sand anywhere there's a beach. The materials are free. Andy began taking part in sandcastle competitions all over the world, but there's one festival in particular, Sandcastle Days in South Padre, that kept Hancock coming back year after year. Master sand sculptors and South Padre Island residents Walter McDonald and Lucinda Warenga started the festivals 34 years ago as a way to demonstrate the magical sculpting qualities of South Padre Island sand, as well as the critical importance of protecting the coastal shores. Over the years, the event has grown from a local celebration to a qualifying event for the World Championships of Sand Sculpting, where over 30,000 sandy fans come to watch the beach come alive. Andy Hancock became such a staple and a crowd pleaser that he was commissioned to build a permanent piece at the beach. Hancock's South Padre Island Sandcastle is unbelievably detailed. Each part of the castle has its own piece of history that Andy himself created. The dragon next to the castle looks as though it's been built into the wall itself, with Hancock saying that it's because when the dragon attacked the castle, the court wizard stopped him by trapping him in the stone. But then how did Hancock make the castle permanent? Did the wizard cast another spell? Well, not quite. Hancock coated the entire castle in a thin layer of glue, which keeps it strong through any kind of weather. Nowadays, Mr. Hancock spreads the love, offering sandcastle classes. With various levels of difficulty, his classes cover everything from basic bucket building to working with shovels and shaping tools. His clever tricks and use of everyday materials are perfect for both amateur and experienced sandcastle builders looking to sharpen their skills. Number 4. Amazing Walter McDonald. One of the founders of South Padre Sandcastle Days, Amazing Walter McDonald is without a doubt one of the most recognizable characters on South Padre Island. The sand sculptor has been entering and winning competitions all over the world. China, Japan, Belgium, Holland, Qatar, Mexico. The man has truly taken his talents everywhere. His first entry in solo masters competition was in 1992 when he entered and won first place in the American Sand Sculpting Competition in Fort Myers, Florida. His sculpting is popular with the public, and he's grown accustomed to winning the People's Choice Award in local festivals. His first large project was Atlantis at Fiesta Island in San Diego in 1997. His work has made it to television, appearing in commercials, and even Oprah Winfrey commissioned a sculpture in Nassau for her O magazine. Both Amazin' Walter and his sand sculpting partner John Gowdy entered the 26th Annual American Sand Sculpting Championships in Fort Myers Beach in the doubles division. Their entry, the coldest sand sculpture in captivity, won first place in the division, the People's Choice Award and the Sculptor's Choice Award. There were anywhere from 50 to 80,000 people in attendance, so winning over the majority of the crowd is by no means an easy task. And when he's not sand sculpting in competitions across the globe, McDonald gives Sandcastle building lessons to spread his expertise and the love of his craft with tourists. He certainly knows how to use all of the latest and greatest high-tech tools, but when he gets down to it, his weapon of choice is his simple handheld tri-tool. Number 3. Abe Waterman's Empty. Every year in June, New Hampshire's Hampton Beach gets a heavy dose of 200 tons of sand for the annual Hampton Beach Master Sand Sculpting Classic. Hundreds of people, mostly locals, come to pick up what the artists are putting down. Each creation is better than those that came before it, but in the end, there can be only one winner walking away with the $6,000 grand prize. In 2021, it was Abe Waterman who walked away with the prestigious sandy honor of coming in first place. The Canadian Sandman won thanks to his incredibly unique, dark and emotional piece simply titled Empty. The amazing sand sculpture was double-sided, showing a face with matching tears piling up into the crouching figure of a man on one side and a woman on the other. So what could have possibly inspired Waterman to build this? Well, in multiple interviews, Waterman has stated that he created the design years prior to entering the competition after going through a rough divorce. Although he and his wife are separated, they are united through tears. The whole situation sounds about as rough as the grains of sand he used to create Empty. Well, needless to say, this piece is one of the more personal works of art we've seen on this list. Empty took Waterman 3 days to create, with his most unique feature being the fact that the tears aren't made of sand. Instead, they're made using gaps within the sculpture, a clever little trick that only allows the piece to live up to its name even more. There's literally an empty space in Empty. The Hampton Beach Master Sand Sculpting Classic is by no means Waterman's first rodeo. The man's been sweeping competition across the globe for years, and it's pretty safe to say he'll continue to do so in years to come. But hopefully taking home top prize with Empty gave him some sort of solace in this uncertain time in his life. Number 2. Sandcastle Matte. This next entry on our list isn't one, but many sandcastles all created by the man who simply goes by Sandcastle Matte. While we certainly have no shortage of spectacular specimens here on this list, Sandcastle Matte takes the art form to new heights in more ways than one. Instead of creating sweeping seascapes or medieval castles, he opts for something he calls the drip method, which he uses to build up. Forget your fancy sandcastle building tools and put away your construction cranes. Molded buckets may ensure perfectly formed turret, but it's got nothing on the drip. By using a simple 1-to-1 mixture of sand and water, he's able to create sculptures that stick without any help from adhesives. All he does is gather sopping wet sand from the shoreline, cup it into his fist, and let it drip, creating these amazing pillars that look like the setting of an Eldritch Kingdom or Neo-Gothic church. So while these works of art and silt will leave your jaw on the floor and your mouth full of sand, Sandcastle Matte's drip method isn't as crazy as it may seem. Yeah, it requires a great deal of patience, but he's able to reach these new heights by simply creating the structure using objects like driftwood, fishing line, vines, plywood, and biodegradable twine to pull off these gravity-defying structures. He simply sets them up as he pleases and then lets it drip. It's pretty amazing how such a simple trick and tool of the trade allows Matt to build something truly special. When it comes to creative sandcastle designs, he's the true drip king of the castle. When Sandcastle Matt isn't making modern works of art on the beach, he's giving lectures on urban sociology at Harvard University. Number 1. Calvin Siebert. Calvin Siebert is a New York-based artist that's known for his amazing sandcastles. And these aren't your typical fairy tale castles either. Instead, he makes sandcastles that look like the mind-bending work of M.C. Escher. Siebert had worked as a sculptor's assistant for nearly 30 years and managed to put everything he learned into the sand. The results are these perfect angular structures that have earned him international recognition. And unlike so many other epic sandcastles we've seen here today, Siebert isn't making these modern marvels once a year at a contest. Instead, this is the artist's full-time activity. And while it may not pay the bills just yet, he's said in interviews that he does this more than anything else, which would make sense considering the amount of time, energy, effort, and attention to detail it takes to make something like this. But the most beautiful part about Siebert's beachside artwork isn't just how they look or his woodworking techniques that go into them, but the fact that they are transitory. Some of these castles can be 8 to 10 feet tall, and for as much time as he spends on them, they'll be gone in half that time. It's not like a building, where when it's done, it's there for a lifetime. But on the brighter side, because his medium is simple sand, not only can Siebert work wherever there are beaches, but it's a great excuse to travel the world and experience and experiment with all the different types of sand around the globe. I'll see you next time. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge. The Top 5 show has launched channel memberships. Thank you to our channel members.